He reminds me of young Anakin. Oh!
Anakin's gone.
Wow.
I will do what I must.
Oh my god, he said it. I will do what I must. Oh, he did it! He did it! He did it! He finally did it! Oh!
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker.
Oh,
The training begins.
the training begins.
Yeah.
That was worth it.
I liked it.
That was worth
so
it.
Cool.
Yeah, my favorite episode. I could see them doing a season 2, but I think this is also a pretty great
I
ending.
think this is a good way to end it.
What do you think, Adam?
Yeah.
You want a season 2? Come on, you want a season 2?
Wow.
Rad.
Hey,
That was cool. I dug
Great.
that.
Give us an
great.
applause, Hector.
Please rewind this cassette.
Obi-Wan is the worst Disney-owned Star Wars release that's happened since the last Disney-owned Star Wars release, which was Boba Fett, or that stupid anime thing they did. Or was it Mandalorian Season 2? Was it She-Hulk? I mean, when's it gonna stop? Is Disney just going to continue to destroy everything that I ever liked in my life as a teenager or as a man in my early 20s? I mean, I don't want to be a boomer and be this, like, cynical old man and, you know, yell at the TikTok generation, but I'm getting to that point. I'm just getting so frustrated with existing. Gas prices are $100 a gallon, inflation, food shortages. At least when I'm at home sitting in my loneliness in this prison that the government has allowed me to stay in, I could at least be entertained by streaming services or new pulp culture events happening. But no, it's the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, or Ezra Miller is a total psychopath. But then I'm like, hey, cool, look, Star Wars stuff. That should be fun. You know, I like Star Wars. Or I used to like Star Wars. Or do I even like Star Wars now that I'm thinking about it? I don't like the prequels. I don't like the sequels. I don't like the shows. And I really only like 2 of the original movies. I mean, there's some video games that I like too, and some comic books that I've read, but right now the batting average is like 40% good, 45, and then the rest is bad. That's not looking too good. Anyway, let's go into Obi-Wan, which I have a few points to make, so I made a list. There's 6 episodes, so I decided to do 6 points to structure this video to just get into it, say what I need to say, because this doesn't deserve an overanalysis, or what the fuck that means, overanalysis, I don't know. This doesn't need a deep dive exploration into the plot holes and the issues and why this doesn't work. Let someone else make that video that's like 6 parts and like 8 hours and all that shit. I don't care. I have no interest in it. The show sucks. The show fucking sucks in every way possible. Like, the acting's pretty shitty, the directing's terrible, the cinematography's not good, the editing's pretty piss poor. It's got very lazy, just lacking screenplays. I heard this was like a retooled feature film script for an Obi-Wan movie that they turned into a show. It's shockingly bad. Like, as bad as I thought it was going to be, it's worse than I ever imagined that it would be, and that's really saying something. Considering the climate that we're living in right now, where just about everything's bad, and I've just decided that I don't believe in anything anymore. Fuck it, let's go to part 1. Immediately an issue I have with the show is just the premise of it, is the idea, is the fact that we're getting a fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi show with Ewan McGregor that directly references the prequels. It has an opening montage of the prequels, has Hayden Christensen back as Anakin Skywalker, and it's pretty much a bridge story in between Return of the Jedi and, I guess, Rogue One would be the next storyline that would happen currently, because if they do multiple seasons of this, who knows what's going to happen. But beyond that point, like, the fact that Disney, when they first bought Lucasfilm, in 2015. I remember a lot of it was exciting because everybody thought, and I was foolish at the time, I thought, okay, you're going to tell new stories in this universe. You're probably going to make sequels. But the hopeful thing is that, you're not going to do all of that, just Star Wars porn that was so prominent in the prequels era with the action figures and the toys and everything that was going on. There was so much of a, like, media avalanche of Star Wars at the time. And I thought, okay, cool, new stories. So then you make the sequels, which you can't commit to them being reboots, and you kill off the main characters that we loved and pretty much ruin them. And then we get a couple semi-movies that aren't too insulting, like Rogue One. But here's the thing, right? We're at a point where fans, who I don't even know who the fuck Star Wars fans are anymore, but right now where people are celebrating the fact that Ewan McGregor, who is universally loved pretty much by everyone, I remember being upset when I was hearing that he was, cheating on his wife on Fargo. And then I saw it was Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But Ewan McGregor's terrific. But the fact that we're getting a prequel sequel show that's more like going with the prequel storylines than the OT, isn't that just going backwards? Isn't that what nobody wanted? That's all I remember is when Lucasfilm, everybody was like, oh, screw George Lucas, forget the prequels. But here we are now with the idea being that we're going to do an Obi-Wan show. It just seems desperate, and I think that's one reason it looks and feels cheap beside the production values. It's such a cheap idea. It's such a way to cash in on, like, very little that they have left. I mean, they've already, like, used up Yoda as Baby Yoda. They're using up Boba Fett. And now they're doing this. So they're running out of things. I mean, they're already forcing Darth Vader in this more. And they were being pretty subtle with Darth Vader beforehand with the property. So that's where we're at. Little kid Leia. I mean, that's like prequel shit. That's like something we would make fun of. Like, oh, could you imagine if there was a little kid Luke and Leia that they showed? They fucking do it. They do it, man. And some people are okay with this. How many premises do they have left before we just get the adventures of little Leia and friends? Probably the most annoying thing about the release of the show and the way that they've tried to push it and putting Hayden Christensen back in there is just this reverse thing now that we're saying the prequels are magically good now. I remember this starting around the time of the sequels where people were using the prequels as a way to, give more fuel to their attacks on the Disney sequels. And I'm like, listen, I still think George Lucas made terrible movies. I still think those movies are bad. I think they're awful. I don't think that's changed. I still think George Lucas ruined Star Wars before it got ruined by Disney. And beyond that, I still blame him for selling it to Disney. And I've heard people say, oh, well, fans pushed him to do it. Nobody pushed that guy to do anything. George Lucas didn't need to sell Star Wars. He could do whatever the fuck he wanted. So I have no excuses for George Lucas in this. But yeah, this retroactive now, like, we love Hayden. We want him to be Darth Vader. We want more of the prequels, which is what I didn't want when Disney bought Star Wars. Instead, they made something so much worse that now people want the prequels again because there's like this nostalgia and the memes and everything, and people remember Duel of the Fates and everyone's saying, maybe the prequels were good. So I just want to get that out of the way. I hate that too, that people now are saying the prequels are good and excited about that. Like, or you even see like cringy interviews where like Ewan and Hayden are talking about them being underrated. And people always say the same shit. They're like, oh, my kids loved it. They were kids' movies. Mark Hamill says this too. Like, George made great kids' movies. Those are horrible kids' movies. What are you talking about? They're like the worst kids' movies ever. What kid would be entertained by that shit now? You put that in front of like a 5-year-old now, they'll be bored to death. They're going to want to watch a Mr. Beast video. That's a kids' movie. So the prequels aren't good. Disney is fooling a lot of people out there to just consume anything Star Wars, and anything that is more Star Wars is automatically something to be excited about. Even if now with the prequels and all of the Disney stuff, there's a lot of bad Star Wars shit. It used to just be, hey, talk bad about the prequels, whatever, but it didn't, like, there were still other things about Star Wars to cling on to. Now it's like, I mean, I'm just stunned. There's people that are like defending the prequels now. That's where we've gotten. Which just shows how much Disney has failed with this property. Okay, so just a minor little thing here on the filmmaking because everyone's pointed this out. The show looks like crap. I don't know how this happened. I'm don't know. I'm assuming they spent a lot of money. I read that they spent 25 million an episode. I don't believe that. Like Stranger Things cost 30 million an episode, and you watch a new season of Stranger Things, and you're like, oh, that looks expensive. This looks like a fan movie that was made for a YouTube video on a very, very low budget. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if this cost like a few $100,000 an episode. There's big name actors in this, and Ewan McGregor produced this, and he talked about, you know, how much he cared about making this and producing it and doing it right. The action scenes are terrible. The cinematography and lighting are pretty poor. The special effects are mixed. Sometimes they look okay, but a lot of times they look terrible. The lightsabers look pretty bad. The de-aging on Anakin does not work. He looks 40. It's very obvious that he's older. This whole idea with the flashback, I mean, I guess it's not a bad idea, but Jesus Christ with these fucking younglings. But anyway, I just want to point out there was this whole defense with this online where they were saying, can you believe these Star Wars fans are so toxic that, you know, they're attacking the cinematography of the show? And then somebody was saying, this is Park Chan-wook cinematographer, which I believe this guy also shot the It movie, right? So great DP, very talented. And they're like, you think he doesn't know what he's doing and you know more about filmmaking than him? Like, how dare you criticize him? I'm like, okay, Francis Ford Coppola made Jack, the movie where Robin Williams plays a little kid who grows up to be a retarded Robin Williams. And that movie's awful and doesn't look like The Godfather Apocalypse Now. So just because you're like know how to do stuff and you're really talented doesn't mean you can't make shit. Because that's the defense I'm getting sick of hearing with these goddamn Star Wars movies by Disney. It's like, well, you know, Rian Johnson's a great director. Look at the visuals. Or, hey, you know, you think this great cinematographer, this editor doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not saying that they're not good. Like, if you were to ask me, is that guy good at his job? Sure. Did he do bad on this? Yes. You know, I'm sure Gordon Ramsay makes bad food sometimes. It's probably not common, but it could happen. And anyway, it's not like this guy was in control of how the show looked or what they were doing. I mean, clearly there was no vision here or anything like that. I'm not really sure. And the director, you look up the director's work and people are like, oh, it's great and all that. Everybody involved with this is like it all just feels like the producers told them exactly what to do. But still, to release something that looks this bad, because, you know, like WandaVision and Loki didn't look this bad, but just to release something that looks this poor is it hubris? I mean, it's embarrassing. It's legitimately embarrassing. I feel bad for everyone who worked on the special effects team on this or who was on the crew. You should be embarrassed. This is really, really terrible. So I don't know how they did it, but they somehow took a long time to get to it. But they ruined Darth Vader. Darth Vader fucking sucks in this show.
One major issue that I've had with Star Wars for a long time, and that's the difficulty reconciling the fact that Anakin and Vader are actually the same person. Like, logically, of course you know that Vader is Anakin and that's how the story goes, but it's hard to picture Hayden Christensen and that Jedi that we knew from the prequels as Vader is menacing and committing his horrors in the original trilogy, Rogue One, and wherever else. I think Kenobi Episode 6 really helped this by literally breaking down the barriers between Darth Vader and Anakin. I think it was genius to show his face.
All that stuff sucks. I mean, he doesn't look like Darth Vader. That's off. He doesn't sound like Darth Vader. They use this AI voice thing to do James Earl Jones' voice. It all sounds wrong. His power levels don't make any sense, and people explain this. There's videos that are about specifically how Darth Vader is weaker against Obi-Wan and why that's important. Oh, no, he's weaker because it's an emotional struggle against Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay. Or they're saying that, like, oh, Vader, his personality's different because this is going to show you how he becomes Darth Vader that we know in New Hope. I mean, the big thing here is the fact that Obi-Wan beats Darth Vader in battle after being nerfed the whole season. Like, Obi-Wan runs away from him, he can't use the Force, and then at the end he defeats him, which once he gets his, like, Obi-Wan power back, he kind of kicks his ass, and it makes Darth Vader seem really weak all of a sudden. And it blows my mind to think that they had this confrontation, And then people are like, isn't this amazing? Now when they meet in New Hope, and he's like, last time we met, I was the learner. Now they're going to meet each other, and this is that in-between that we need. It's like, no, we don't need that. We don't need that at all. It was perfectly fine that the last time they met was at the end of Revenge of the Sith. I don't like this characterization of Vader. I don't like how these people are saying it's the best thing about the show. I mean, there's cool moments. Darth Vader is hard to fuck up totally, but I would equate this to what they did with Luke Skywalker with the deep fake and the voice, and what they did in Mandalorian and Boba Fett, what they did with Tarkin. It's just that this isn't CGI. I'm shocked it isn't a CGI Darth Vader, but it's a guy in a costume. So they slightly get away with it, but it does feel like it's Hayden Christensen in a Halloween costume playing Darth Vader. I mean, it's about as fan fiction-y weird as you can get, that this guy that played a hated character, Anakin, and gave a bad performance. It's like, what is Jake Lloyd gonna be in this now? Like, that part's so confusing. Some people are saying Vader was badass. I don't understand. I think he was written to be very stupid at points. I think he acted very out of character from the Darth Vader we know. I think there was far too much Darth Vader. I think they overused him and then just made it confusing. Like when he drags Obi-Wan into the fire and Obi-Wan doesn't get burned and he's trying to torture him, and Obi-Wan doesn't use the Force because he can't, and nothing makes sense. And oh my god, I just don't understand. So at this point, I don't even want to be talking about this because I made a video about this years ago, but Star Wars fans did nothing wrong. Quit trying to make it that it's toxic Star Wars fans is why the Disney films fucking suck and people don't like them, or the Disney shows suck and people don't like them. Please stop with this stupid narrative. This is clearly pushed by Disney or people in the media. What a conspiracy theory. It's like, it's not a conspiracy theory. They know their stuff's shit, so it becomes that the argument is basically that it's white supremacists, sexist, misogynists who hate Star Wars but pretend to be fans are attacking. And Ewan McGregor made this video at the beginning about how he stands with Moses. I don't know why he's trying to push his religion on me, but it's anyway, the chick who plays Reva, I guess she got some racist DMs, and this is like Kelly Marie Tran for Rose Tico, and it's all about Star Wars fans being evil, and they pushed this at the beginning to give this a lot of a media push, and then the ratings shot up for Obi-Wan, and then the ratings have declined, and the reception hasn't been great, and now they're not talking about it anymore. I mean, when are you guys gonna learn if it's not Ghostbusters, if it's not anything? Like, don't immediately start every fucking time you release a new thing of an IP that's popular. Don't always start with, hey, somebody got attacked on the internet. We have a bunch of terrible fans. We hate them. Okay, watch our content and love it. Could you just shut the fuck up one time and not have to moral grandstand and just try to point out that there's some people that said some negative shit somewhere, and then it becomes a commentary on toxic masculinity and Star Wars fans? And how we haven't learned. Oh, people aren't watching Miss Marvel. We haven't come anywhere since Gamergate. Nobody wants to watch a Muslim girl in a YA teen show on Disney Plus, so it's white supremacy. It's just like a cycle. It just keeps repeating itself. I remember when Last Jedi came out, I thought this shit was going to be passé in like a year or two. And it's still the same stuff. Everything's still the same. Nothing changes. So I think it's clear at this point that Disney hates Star Wars and everything else, and anything related to anything popular. I mean, it's just gotten worse. The MCU is on the decline, both financially and critically. Spider-Man was technically MCU, but it's a Sony film, so Sony gets the win on that one. The shows aren't performing up to par with what they were expecting. I mean, pretty much everything's going bad for Disney, and instead of, getting a small team together and saying, hey, let's really flesh this stuff out, let's deliver the goods, let's satisfy the fans, they just keep releasing terrible shows or mediocre movies that aren't performing up to what Disney standards were even just, 3 years ago, where every movie they released made like $1 billion. So at this point, I can only assume that this comes from some vitriol or apathy or something. Clearly, they don't give a shit. And they hate you and they hate all of us, and they want to buy everything and ruin everything. Once again, I'm not trying to be cynical, but it just seems to be the case. Oh, hold on here. I think I have someone to talk to here. We have a special guest for this video. I'm very excited to welcome Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse, the CEO of Disney Studios. How you doing, Mickey? I'm a real boy. Okay, that was really interesting. So, can you explain to me, why do you hate Star Wars so much, and why do you guys keep trying to ruin everything about it and make these terrible movies and shows that have upset a lot of people? How do you feel about that? Let's get high. Okay, all right, good to hear. Awesome. So your copyright's gonna be up soon. Are you worried about that? That, people are just gonna be able to do whatever they want with you? You're gonna have been a Saw movie or something? I mean, it's pretty fucking crazy, huh? I like Hot Pockets.
Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker.